The Klan is not representative of Americans or whites, let alone Christians. After the Civil War, some disgruntled general came back to the South and whipped up some rabble out of the whatever highwaymen and orphans were left. Ku Klux is literally Middle Latin, and they'll say it's Ku Klux. Well, why don't you say Ku Klux? No, it's Ku Klux. Ku as in Middle Latin to strike, and Klux as in the sound a fucking chicken makes. This is a vestigial appendage of the Ottoman Empire. For instance, after World War II, Charles de Gaulle was trying to liberate white slaves in North Africa, and they called him a terrorist because they don't give a shit. They like the Muslim money without the Muslims. They like to have their cake and eat it. And now we're in a position where they think they can just bring in more Muslims because I'm worth more than their whole goddamn operation. Just bring in more Muslims, take it out of my account. Like I have no say in the matter because I'm the crazy one. Meanwhile, they have tactical advantages all over the country. We're just going to have a war about it and lose like you have been since Vietnam. Unfettered. Just 9/11, they just tore the throttle off. Bunch of highfalutin paleface. And the problem is, I'm not just going to take a dive and pass the buck to stay in charge of losing. Like, I don't want to lose. And that's on your behalf as much as everybody else. Because democracy protects the rights of the minority by universal application of majority rule. You act like you could just blame me and end up crawling with Pakistanis and be like, oh, that son of a bitch. You're not with me. Like I'm going around having Pakistani and Chinese and Ugandan children just because you raped me, basically. The Watchtower is basically like a totally unethical, immoral approach to amalgamating all the world religions because it's a mockery of freedom of religion. Like, so they're like, okay, fine, well, we'll just take this crazy heresy from the devil's playground and incorporate it and call it Christian. But on September 11th, the World Court collapsed into its own footprint at free fall speed. So now they're no longer like, you can't just be like, oh, we're going to exchange a bunch of English for Muslims. Like, on whose authority? King of the what? So what they did was they used the United Nations authority to insinuate themselves into the process, and then they brainwashed these idiots into competing on their level with Roe v. Wade, and then they knocked down the World Court. That's why I said the Nazis have been planning this for 80 years. At the time, that would have been before the Nazis, but I stand by it because it was about the right time for Marx. When you think about it, your Protestantism against the Vatican, where you think you can lie to the Pope and act like it's forgiven. Like, if you lied to him, the actual thing's not forgiven. Only the forgiveness is a lie. So you're just basically trying to make sure you have absolutely no way out of this, because the Reich has always been a Muslim function. We get invaded by Muslims, and it's a justifiable response to abnormal stimulus, but there's no like cutoff. There's no viable exit strategy. No victory condition. Bill Gates is over there like, well, we probably killed 90% of these people. Some fat district attorney looks like he ate his predecessor, who I was actually there to meet, acting like he has a hot stack of Xerox. Well, it's been 15 years, fatty. How'd you get in here? I'm gonna pat you down. They wait till you leave and act like they work for you. It's absolutely ridiculous. Fleeing is an admission of guilt. So they wait till you leave, they forgive it. They do it themselves. Like all the rest of us have to survive with the pressure, the obligation to be good and perfect and saintly enough not to give the Muslims an excuse to come do to us what these guys already opened the door for. One takes for granted that freedom of religion does not provide for your freedom to reject it. Who sold all these white people to the Muslims? Oh, it was my fault, Washington? You hear that? It's all my fault, Washington. People are retarded. Rape a little boy in surgery, tell him it's all in his head, and then follow him around for years, decades, acting like it was something else. Because there's supposed to be some element of truth to the story. But you don't know what democracy means. You don't know where money comes from. You don't know what a doctor is. And you would not know a religion if the risen Messiah jumped out and bit your fat ass off. But it's a corporate thing. You know, if certain parties are making money off it, the corporation has to compete. So we just can't let anybody do that. And certain parties are going to be like, they lose their whole edge. You know, waddle their fat ass and their limp wrists back to whatever. You have to look at it. It's all about remittances. You have to look at it in context of where, if they have riches in heaven, where they're going to flee to if it goes wrong. So you're going to Uganda. That's your daddy. Look at the condition of society. Look at the situation with our culture, our population. You think you can just sell Christians and buy your way into the Christian church? Throughout history, there's always been this argument, like, we can't do anything about these heretics, so it's got to be the guns, right? Like, we weren't pouring gasoline on a fire the whole time. But sometimes it boils down to just certain parties aren't taking no for an answer. And there's a reasonable, like, we used to have the mafia, and the mafia belonged to the old world. They had some kind of a bona fide connection where you couldn't do anything about it. These idiots are like, oh, yeah, we'll just take that racket over and work for Uganda. And freedom of religion, when I say God never heard of these people, that's my personal. When I say Caesar never heard of them, that's a fact. There is no sola scriptura. God, Jesus anointed Peter, and that's where the Vatican authority comes from. But likewise, without John 3:16, there's no New Testament. There's no Jesus. So you can't say the Bible is the perfect word of God and the ultimate authority, and like one without the other. For instance, the New World Translation is blasphemy. You act like we got to treat that like any other Christianity. The Bible was written in Hebrew, Greek, and Aramaic. So it's the perfect word of God for you and for me, right? It's not, man was created in the image of God, not in the image of you. So it was written in Hebrew, Greek, and Aramaic and translated to Latin before English. Was it perfect then, or is it perfect now, and why? Because you make it perfect. It's called faith, and without it, it's not a religion. It's not a real religion. The First Amendment protects religion with military force. It's not a cruel, sick, goddamn joke. No rational authority has ever sailed for flat earth. Well, who's this guy supposed to be? Didn't he say he was the son of the devil? My family name means son of the devil, as in, what are you going to do about it? Other than, like, plug us into the World Wide Web and act like a bunch of sneaky chicken shit while we get overrun with Muslims? So Uganda doesn't like us. They actually don't like any of us, but my family, apparently the ideal excuse, because the redcoats don't like us either. Got a lot of goddamn nerve calling anybody a traitor.